Record on this computer. Hey everyone. So this is a bit of an exciting out of the box kind of thing, at least for me. Um, the first time that I've designed a digital escape room. So please show me a little bit of empathy as you try to escape my adventure, which is very simplistic in nature. But really, we're going to dive into how you can create a digital escape room experience using Google Forms and some of the other Google tools to kind of enhance the experience. So if you've not joined me before for any sessions, welcome. My name is Lynn and I work at OPDC, and we're happy to support you through this time, not just now, but always at BCIU. And rest assured that this is being recorded for any of your colleagues who couldn't show up today live, and hosting all of our sessions in the on-demand recording space of our Core Connections website. So again, the short link for the slides is bit.ly/escape IU14, which actually sounds like we're trying to escape from the IU, which is kind of funny. And that's all lowercase, so that should work well for you. If you would like to, okay, Heather confirmed that it works. Awesome. Eastern Lancaster County. All right. Shout out to the Spartans. I used to be a principal there and an instructional coach. Good times. So here we go. Let's have some fun and just do our best learning new things together. Basically, what a digital escape room is an online activity where students work to solve problems or find the answers to questions that will unlock a Google form submission or something similar. Now, there's a lot of versions out there. These are activities that can be done in traditional face-to-face classrooms as well. Great collaborative activity to bring kids together. You might also have heard the term of a breakout, especially under the brand name Breakout EDU. We have some physical breakout kits at the IU that you can lend out through our lending library through the EPIC network. If when we return to school, you'd like to try an actual physical breakout. And from that whole experience, that whole find the clues, solve the problems, escape type of activity, teachers got really clever with Google Forms, Google Sites, Google Slides, and they created these activities that ask students to solve problems and escape, or solve problems and, whatever their story scenario turns out to be. So Breakout EDU is also a platform that specializes in these types of escape activities. It is typically a subscription service. They do offer some free digital breakouts, however, if you wanted to explore that as well. I'm not going to go into that platform very deeply here at all today, but I did want to share that reference with you. They're a wonderful company, very educator focused, and they're also offering some breakouts for home that families can do together. So I linked to their website there for you. So basically, how it works is that there's some kind of story involved. And I did this screen capture of one of the first examples that I saw shared. And if you, I think I linked right to it. If you click on that picture, it will take you out to the actual example. But there's some kind of story because you want to give kids context, an interesting context, something to capture their attention. In order to motivate them to solve the problems, find the clues. Now, this is where creativity really comes in the puzzle pieces, the puzzles, the problems, and the visual clues that you provide students. When you do a physical breakout, or if you have had the experience of being in an escape room, you're surrounded by clues. Anything could be a clue. The portrait on the wall, the little diary book that they have setting on the table, the telephone, everything is meant to appear like it could be a clue. And so the tricky part about turning that into a digital experience is that you need to attempt to design a digital learning environment that provides an array of visual clues that students could look to um, and try to think, does this apply to what I'm trying to do? Does this give me some clues or some answers to try to unlock the lock? And for most of the homemade digital escape rooms that I've seen in classrooms that teachers create, it makes sense to use a Google form, as you can in a Google form, and that's what we'll learn to do today. Design a form that only permits a certain word or a certain combination of numbers to be entered in order to submit the form. So basically, if you don't have the right 4-digit number, you will get the red error message and you will not be able to submit the form. And that all happens through response validation. So I have a couple of examples here, elementary, middle, and high. I will tell you, elementary friends, a lot of the elementary examples I found were upper elementary. I am certain there are some K-2 out there. You do need to have a student who is a bit independent in terms of reading or locating clues. Or if you design it as something that they team up with a family member to do, then certainly you have a little more wiggle room there. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these, but I will show you some things and what they look like. And a lot of these come from an educator named Tom Mullaney, and I link and reference him at the end of this session. He created a whole Google site about digital breakouts using Google Forms, and he linked to a number of examples. So again, starts with some kind of story. The best part of any sleepover is your cousin is making s'mores. The fire is going, it's safe. Uh-oh, your aunt locked your ingredients for the s'mores in your lockbox. She's a chemistry professor at a local college, and she's unreachable. Your uncle has no idea how to crack the 3 locks, which are here in the form. But the good news is that your aunt always sets her locks based on her latest lecture. So if you can learn about heat transfer before the fire dies down, then you can have the s'mores. So the story has been set. You can see what the topic is that kids are going to learn about through this exploration, and it is science and heat transfer. And so here we go. There are a number of things that you can click on this space, in this space. And the first one is if you can learn about heat transfer. Here we go. So what makes something hot or cold? How do we get things warmer? So you can see this takes me to content that I can learn about. I was just checking on something there for a minute. Okay. And he also is very clear to say down here that he credits all of the sources that he's using. And what's important is that he tells kids nothing below this line helps crack the locks. And that's what's important, because they're going to be going in and out and around the site, clicking and trying to do things. This leads out to another activity, an image that they need. All right, now somewhere in here is a clue. I don't know. I didn't actually solve this, and I'm not going to right now, but you can see how it is modeled. And in this case, the kids are looking for a 4-letter word, a 5-letter word lock, and a 6-letter word. So 3 words will open up this lock. Now, let's look at another example. We've got, one of these is a 2nd grade example. Here's what's the matter. So again, they're all theme-based. Learning about states of matter. Here's a really important thing that you see in the form. The teacher, if it's a 6-digit number lock, the teacher specifies no commas, no spaces, or all caps. This is important because when Google Forms is trying to figure out what's going on with your answer, it is comparing the teacher's answer to your submitted answer, and if the caps lock is on, it might mark it wrong and all that kind of good stuff. Sometimes they make up locks that are the same as the ones in the physical box, and they might do directions, so like up, down, left, right, all caps, no spaces. See here, this is the answer that the students get when they're wrong. It says, nope, still locked. You didn't do it. And so, I don't know this combo. But again, that little clue is right here for you. All over, there are things that are clickable on this site. There's a picture of a solid. There's a picture of a liquid that takes me to some kind of activity. Well, this is exciting. So this is a matching game. So you can notice the types of things that teachers are building into. No, that's a liquid. Well, I could play this all day. And that's what happens. You get sucked in. But you notice the type of puzzles that people bring in. So she brought in flips, matching. Here's the word solid. This takes me somewhere. Oh, here's a little quiz. It says answer the questions and get us a prize. And perhaps that prize is going to be a clue for my lock. So you're taking kids through explorations of content to see what they know and to allow them to unlock the space. You can explore all these examples. Notice how the complexity changes when the grade level changes. So this is a high school breakout scenario where there are links to things like revolutionary calendar, or I don't know what that word is, a guillotine. Here's something that they would explore. Amazing. Something they can listen to. So it's an exploration of content. Here's a map they might need for this escape room to get out of here. Crack the locks. This one has a 3-letter, a 4-digit, a 5. So this has a lot of locks. This might not be something that kids are doing in one sitting. They might be taking notes on what the answers are in another space, and then when they're finally ready to fill out the form, putting them all in and then clicking next, although they could test at any time to see if they're correct. So you can see how different, here's some different things that the teacher can build in. Oh, there's only one slide. So here's a video, here's another video, and guiding questions, right? So there are some very clever things going on. Oh, somebody's asking about how to make your screen bigger on Zoom. Yeah, you can, if you go to speaker view, if you click on speaker view, it'll be just me and it won't be everybody. And then you can see the slides and everything. So I'm gonna leave this. All right, so those are some examples I listed to you. You really can build one for any content area. It's just can apply to all levels. You'll see mine is very simple. Keep it simple for my first one, but just something to try. So if you're following along with the slides, I linked my escape room to this slide, which is number 6. And I decided to go ahead and host it on a Google site. And the reason I did that is because it's easier to just kind of put everything all in one place. At least that's how I thought it was, because it's easy to add images. It's easy to link pages to the other pages. If you've never built a website before with Google Sites, it really is a user-friendly place to start. My very simple problem is that monsters are in your room and you must show what you know about animal characteristics in order to escape the room. So my general topic is learning about animal characteristics. There are just 4 locks, and you can click on anything that's here on the website to try to get to it. I'm going to put this site directly in the chat. And if you just want to take a minute or two, and I'll try to help. I was going to try to help Denise with her screen, but I'll put that in this chat. If you want to try to break out or at least find the answers to a couple of questions, we're not going to spend a super long time on this, but it will give you the chance to see kind of how I built the breakout space that you can look at. So take a couple minutes and just look at that. Maybe I'll play some kind of detective music. Again. So for trying to break out, this has the first puzzle clue. I put a number 1 to indicate this is the first lock. Kind of looks like a 7, but it's supposed to be a 1. Alyssa got it. And this even has the letters in the, and this really should say arms, and I changed that after the fact. So you can see if you type in octopus, it will stay green for you. Now, if I added something else when I go, I would get that as an error. And what animal group is that? Monster. So that leads to this little guy. Oh no, wrong. That leads to something else. But not this button, because that was a trick. Oh, how did I get to him? Oh, this guy, the skunk picture. Number 2, and what animal group is this monster? And again, I just had to scramble, and I was just rolling with the monster theme that I chose. There's a house button to go back to home each time. And then the bird page has the number 3 clue. I'm going through there. And then the word scramble one, I think, is the trickiest one, because it has the jumbles to unscramble, but then it also has the numbers, so you need those too. So I'll leave you with that, and maybe you'll play with it later. But let me pause my super spy music so we can do some more learning. All right, oops. All right, so let's talk about how we would even bring one of these things to life. By the way, if you unlock the form, you will be able to get to section 2, where you add your name, and it will congratulate you. And then we'll see if any of the responses come in. So we'll see who's successful, and you get congratulated, which is, you know, really the best reward of all. So let's build a digital escape room. So some things to think about. Number 1, of course, would be your topic and what skills you'd like to address. So what is it that you hope students can practice through this time? Or maybe it's content that you're having them preview, which would be a little bit trickier because they might not have any background knowledge on it. So I think a lot of times teachers create escape rooms around content the students already know with and have familiarity with. And it will be simple if you are teaching our young learners, and it might be more complex and be more involved as you're teaching secondary. The second thing to think about are the tasks. So what puzzles do you want them to complete, or games do you want them to play, or tasks do you want them to complete to be able to solve the problem? And what compelling story are you going to kind of wrap around this? Now you can see my story example was not uber compelling, but it had a little bit of urgency, like we're in this dangerous situation and we need to get out. So how will you motivate kids to escape the room and answer the problems? And then you'll write you'll designate your answers as locks. So you'll kind of figure out, you know, what is lock 1? Is it a word answer to a question that they're trying to solve? And how many digits is it? Now, some people don't say the digits. They just say it's a word. It's a number. I think if you give the kids the number of characters and digits, that's a lot more helpful, especially for your first one. So people sometimes even put the picture of the lock next to it. So for your consideration, where are you going to build out your story? You could even do it here in Google Slides if you're not ready to build a site. You could host everything in one space, and many people do prefer Google Sites, but you can play around and use other things. What kind of puzzles do you want to use, or services to different online gaming sites? I found this resource. It's a crowdsourced list of things that you could use in a digital breakout. So, for example, fake ticket. You can create a fake ticket for a concert, for an event, and you could hide little clues in the things all along the side of the ticket. So I have seen some digital breakouts that include paraphernalia like tickets. Let me go back to the other options there. There were things like puzzle makers, rebus builders, so you can turn your clues into picture puzzles, sorting activities, Snotes, which I've never heard of, allows you to make like secret notes. I guess that's where Snotes comes from, which is fun. I've never seen this. I'm learning about it with you right now. What is a Snote? How do I read a Snote? So it's got like hidden pictures in it. Snotes look really fun. Frankly, I think we all need Snotes right about now. Other things that you could use would be anything from like classtools.net. I have seen that used before. It's a ton of just different things to bring into your classroom, your digital classroom, Venn diagram creator, countdowns, like turn your quiz questions into a Pac-Man game. There's a random name picker. If you attended our Flippity session, Flippity would be a good tool as well, because there's a lot of fun things you could send kids to. Maybe you hide clues in a deck of flashcards, or you hide them in a randomizer. Flippity actually has its own version of an escape room, just kind of in this one place. You have to answer 8 questions, and when you answer it correctly, you get unlocked. So maybe this is one of the ways that you can do that. That unlocked it. So you could even start looking at simple things like that if this is interesting to you. And then think about the types of locks that you might want to use. 4-digit, 3-digit. There's all, you can pretty much make up anything you want in the digital version. It doesn't have to be a lock that actually exists in real life. So just, again, think it all starts with the topics and the skills and the content that you want kids to explore, and then come out. I think a lot of times teachers come out with the clues being like a really meaningful vocabulary word that they have to know. Or for math teachers, they're having kids do a lot of problem solving, and then the answer, or the final sum or whatever, is their their number lock. So the question was, how do we get to that list of puzzles? It was clicked on from right here. And this is slide 14. So if you have my slides, and if you don't have my slides because you came in after they were posted, I'll just put that link again. It's bit.ly/escape IU14, all lowercase. And then you can get all my slides, and you can get all of the things linked in them, including this crowdsource list of stuff, which is crazy. There's a ton of things there. I can't even show you all. Okay, so then how will you present your story? You could, if you're first getting started and you just want to present a bunch of links to like puzzly places that kids have to explore, you could put everything together on a Google Doc. You could add an image. You could link to any of that stuff. But the issue with Google Docs or Google Slides is that you could not embed the actual Google form in it. You'd have to link to it. So your directions would have to say, and when you think you have all of your clues answered, click here to fill out the form and unlock the locks. So you'd have to link to it. The preference of using the Google site is that you can add a form directly to that site. And just like in our monsters example, it would live right here. You essentially just embed the form right here. Okay, so those are your options. I'm sure there are more options. There are people who make them out of s'mores, if you've ever used that. There are people who make them out of Canva somehow. So there's different options to explore, but sticking with G Suite is probably the easiest way to start. So when it comes to Google Forms, what do you need to know to be able to build one of these? Well, these are the minimal skills that you will need to build an escape activity. First, you need to know how to create a new form, then how to add a short answer question, because the short answer, you could add multiple choice if you want to make it easy. The short answer, but then they could just guess. The short answer is really how you build the lock questions. And the thing that most people have to learn for the first time is how to use response validation. So we're going to look at that. And then for some designers, they like to have each lock on a separate page of the form, so that the students would have to first unlock question 1, and if they are correct, and only if they are correct, can they move on to lock number 2. Some teachers don't care if they do it all at once. Sometimes for the story, it makes sense to put them in different sections. So we'll look at that. And then the final thing you'll need to know is how to share your form or embed your form. So response validation is located in the question box, in the question area when you are designing a Google form. When you've chosen short answer as your question type, there are triple dots down here in the right. And when you click on them, you get even more options for your question. And I'll show you this live, but I wanted to highlight it on a slide. So it is using response validation that you tell the Google form exactly what word or combination of letters or what number you are saying is the correct answer. So it has to validate that response to unlock the lock. And there are a ton, and they're essentially called rules. These are the rules that you will set up for each question, for each lock. There are a ton of different rules that you can abide by, and I'll show you the list. You can get more creative, but to start, I would just like make it a word. You can choose a number, a text, length, or regular expression for the rules. And for each one of these, there is another set of conditions. So if I chose text, I can say the text contains, doesn't contain, is an email address, or is a link. So what conditions are you gonna validate in that response? So here are some rules listed by the Google Friends for a question. The types of rules for short answer, for example, here's number, a whole number between 21 and 42. Well, you won't use between because you'll have a specific lock to unlock. Text, make sure the answers contain the word candy or are formatted as an email address. And the length, you can set up a length requirement. Here's about regular expressions. These are just some of the expressions that are supported. So you know, period, you can put asterisks in them. If you wanted to do a symbols combination, you probably could, which would be very difficult. And you can look at all of these, but it's really easier if you ever have a question, you could validate that there, but it's a lot easier just to kind of play around with what you can do in the actual form. So if you're brand new to forms, you'll go to Google Drive as the easiest place to start. New, and you don't need any special kind of form like from a template or anything. Just start a blank form and you'll add all of your fun details. You'll use your theme chooser to change the color or to choose a background image depending on what your topic is. Maybe it's a graduation breakout for your students. It'll adjust based on that. Breakout to graduate, which does, you know, seem like a lot of work. All right, so here's what you need to get really familiar with. And what's fun about this is when you start building them, you send them to your friends to try to unlock because they'll love it. Or have your teenagers try to do it for you. So here you can see it defaults to multiple choice, but I'm gonna need short answer for a lock. Sometimes people like to number them, lock number 1. It's totally up to you. Guys, Google Forms is so smart that when I typed the word lock, it automatically added response validation because it knows what I'm going to do. Is that creeping you out or what? But if it didn't know what I was going to do and I had to go down here, here's those triple dots I was talking about. I can click here and now this is where I have to mark, yes, I want to do response validation for this space. So now I get this additional line. And my lock number 1 might be a 4-letter word. And I might need to prompt my kids and also go here and show description. Because if you want a clue for them, or if you want to say, all lowercase or all caps, you need to mark description in addition to response validation. So I'm going to do all lowercase. My answer is going to be, you could do regular expression matches. Sometimes people do text contains, but I think I'll do regular expression matches, and the pattern will be, you know, a 4-letter word. I'll try not to make it a curse word. I'll do step. And if kids are wrong, you can give them a prompt here, like, nope, still locked, something like that. Now, at any time, the important thing to remember is that these locks are requirements. So this required button should get turned on. And the other thing that you want to always check is your settings for Google Forms in your district domain. So here it says settings, and mine defaults to restricting the form to people in my organization. So if I want to be able to share this with somebody else like you, I'm going to need to turn that off. Now for your student responses, you can add, what I did in the Monster one is I added a place for your name after you were correct. So you could, and I'll show you how to do that with a section. So once you broke out, then you had the option to put your name so that I could see if you were successful or not. You could probably collect email addresses from your students so it would tag their names. But if you're having them team up at all, you might want to put a space for names or team names. Under presentation, you can remove the ability to play again or try again. I wouldn't shuffle the question order for these. And if you decide to use multiple sections, you can show the progress one after the next. So kids know, oh, I'm on page 1 of 4 or 2 of 4, so they know how far they have to go. This is not really a form that operates as a quiz, so you should not need to turn that on. There's nothing really graded going on. They get that instant feedback because of the validation. As you're building, what you can do is take advantage of the preview mode. And if you click on the eyeball in the top right of Google Form, it'll take you out, break out to graduate. I see that I'm on page 1 of 1 because I didn't section it out. And I see this is required because it has the red asterisk. I would write my little story up here or give kids directions up here. So now I'll try to make my, nope, it's not stup. So that's wrong. So I could try various 4-letter words. Nope, still locked. And now that I have the word step, then I could submit. Yay, I did it. Now what you can do too is you can do the sections. So let's talk about that. The sections are not often used by a lot of people just making regular old quizzes or tickets out the door, but that's what this last piece is in the toolbar here for Google Forms. So if I click Add Section, it's going to keep what I had and it's going to make that section 1, and it's going to add an additional section here. Now I can duplicate this whole question so I don't have to recreate the wheel by using this button. So I'm just going to duplicate, and I can drag and drop questions into different sections. So now I'm going to have lock 2. It's going to be a 3-digit number on this space. I don't need the lowercase prompt anymore. I'm going to just make sure, yep, response validation is set. I'm going to do number is equal to, and then I'll pick my 3-digit number, 1, 2, 3, custom error text, when they're wrong, boo, try again. So that's what they'll see when they get wrong, and it's required. Now what will happen is here in my preview, I'm gonna have to answer this one first to be able to move on. And now I'm at my 3-digit number. If I'm wrong, Can't submit it. Can't submit it. When I'm right, hooray! Now I submit it. That is the simplest kind of thing. Some people like having the locks on different spaces where you can't move on unless you get it. Some people like it all in one view, like we had on the monster page, where you can still kind of get your feedback going through that space, and you won't be able to click next until you move on. Now, let me show you the monster one on the back end so you can see what it looks like when you solve the puzzle, which I'm sure you will do later today. It was here. So in preview mode, I'm not going to show you the answers, but once you solve all of these, it takes you to the second section, which has your congratulations picture, and it says, yay, you escaped. And then it asks for your first name. So I did it a couple of times. Let's see who else did it. I think I did it before. Oh, wait, who did it? Stephanie did it. Stephanie escaped. Good job, Stephanie. Megan escaped. And Alexis. Good job, guys. Proud of you. And you just get that really good feeling. So to do that, in this example, you could just do a new section again. You could say, congratulations, you graduated. And you can insert now a picture, add your image. And if you have a picture, you can upload it. You can search in Google Image Search. So I might do a graduation picture of kids throwing their caps in the air. Huzzah! Insert. And that's what the kids will see when they break out. And then I might put that name response here, your first name, text, and done. So now when they get through, I'm going to keep forgetting that word. Step 1, 2, 3, hooray! And then I can submit my name that I was victorious. Now, there are a lot of different frameworks and designs that people use. That's just the one I found to work the easiest for me when I was designing from scratch. And it just makes sense. It seemed to work really well. So let me get out here. But those are the main things, and I think we covered pretty much all of them, using response validation, short answer, adding a section, and then this piece. So to share it or embed it at this point, if I was going to do this one, I could just go into preview mode and I could copy this link. If I'm using Google Slides to share, I would just paste that link and say, this is your breakout lock form. If I was putting it in a Google site, for those of you who are new to Google Sites, new Google Sites originates in the same place as all the other Google apps now. It used to live in its own platform, but now it's been merged into Google Drive, and it operates so nicely just as a file in your drive. So you would go to new and then Google Sites. It starts out as a very clean template. There is no coding necessary to be able to build a site. Escape from room. How about this? Escape from Zoom, because I think we all want to. So escape from Zoom, you double click. Anytime I double click, I get the option to add any of this stuff: text, upload, image, embed something, or something from my Google Drive. So if I double click, I can now add some title text. Welcome to Zoom. Everyone loves it here. Or do they? And then I can start to double click and add images from my saved images from my desktop. I can upload them, or if I'm searching for, computer pictures that I'm going to add to Zoom. This looks like making me dizzy. So I can start to add my visual clues, or oops, perhaps it is too big. Maybe it is. You can link any text. So if you're saying, solve this puzzle, or you saw the students, or one of the examples had words like solid, gas, liquid, any of those, let me blow it up. Any of those can be linked simply by highlighting them and using the insert link function. So then you can send the kids anywhere on the web to do their little puzzles. Or if you make a fake lottery ticket or concert ticket, you can just bring it in as an upload if you have that saved somewhere. And that's really just all I did to build out the clues area. And I double clicked add from Drive to add the form right in there. So it syncs with your Drive. So the form I just made was something about escape from or graduating. So it's under the G's. So I'll just keep going and going, although I don't know where it was. Let me search if it's here. Graduate. What did I call it? Escape from graduation. There we go. Breakout to graduate. So that's my form. Insert. And there it is. Now, even if I go back to my form and I make changes, I don't have to change this because it will update on its own. So I don't need to mess around with this anymore. I just put it right here and here we go. Things that you'll need to know, however, if you want to link to different parts of the site like I did, let me jump here to my Monster. My Zoom tools are always in the way up there. So here's my Monster page. So the way that I did this, that when you clicked on the bird, it took you to another page, is I made a page on my site called Birds. And the way you do that is in the Pages menu, add birds. Now, to someone just building or just viewing this site, this menu at the top is going to show all the pages that you're creating. And maybe you don't want that because maybe part of the puzzle is not knowing that all these pages exist. So it's really easy to hide it. You just go to hide from navigation, and now nobody knows except for me that I have that page called Birds. At any time, you can preview what your site looks like with the preview button, and you can actually see what it looks like on a tablet, and you can see what it looks like on a phone, and everything is maintained really nicely for you. I really do think it makes sense to host a digital breakout on a Google site, but I do understand that that's a learning curve for some people. So again, you could build out the clues in Google Slides, and then you could link to the final form for kids to access as well. So that's kind of how easy it is to pull in a site. You can even pull in things like Google Map. If a map is part of your exploration, you could pull a map in, YouTube videos, any of this stuff syncs. You could pull in a carousel of images that goes through. It works really nicely for this purpose. Okay. We looked at the rules. So yeah, so I know that this is a lot of work for one activity but it's fun, and I think the kids would find it to be fun, and it's a break from the norm, which right now we're going to definitely need in the next few weeks, just kind of mixing it up and keeping kids interested and coming back. This is where I reference all of the stuff from Tom Mullaney, who this is his digital breakouts page. He has all of the ones that he's created or teamed up with other teachers to create. So he says, please use them with your students. It might be good to use one that's already made with your class and see how they feel about it, see how it works for them. He is a history teacher, a social studies teacher. That's why he has a lot of those. But he also continues to add 2 different content areas. And he has who you can email with a question, and he lists the content, the grade level, and the difficulty for each one. He also lists a breakout template that he used to inspire teachers to create their own. So the template is actually a digital breakout. Because it would just be easy otherwise. But he has this great video, how digital breakouts work. He shows you how to embed other tools like My Maps and Sheets, and links to other teachers' innovative ways. This is a template. Use this template, change and add locks as needed. You don't actually request edit access to this. I think he wants you, I think you can make a copy of it. Oh, no, he said don't watch this video. And oh, here's the folder. He has a shared Google Drive folder with all of his templates and things. So you can take this form and then in your own drive, you can make a copy. So you can start from his template, but then make a copy. And now it becomes something that you can edit for your own work. Questions coming in. Somebody sent me this link I just sent with free rooms. Let's check it out. So I grabbed that from the chat. Digital escape room. Oh, from Mama Teaches, 25 plus free digital escape rooms. Yeah, as you're just learning about it and getting your feet wet with the whole designing aspect, it's definitely a good starting point to send kids to ones that already exist, just so they can get familiar with the whole idea of it as you're building. And if you have middle or high school learners, they could totally build one of these themselves. Once they get the strategy behind it and the framework. So there's a ton of them here. So thanks for sharing that link. I'll actually add it to our slides under the resources, because I do have another tutorial from Dan Gallagher that specifically uses Google Forms, since that was the focus of our session today. And then I have a number of other examples that other educators have shared, so that you have a good starting place to get going with making your own, if that interests you. So that's not my phone number. I appreciate you guys coming out today. Definitely reach out if you have any questions, and I will stop the recording here in a minute after I add my Twitter handle, and take any questions that you have. Don't forget the link to, let me add this, the link to the feedback form is bit.ly/cc Core Connections virtual feedback. And it's good for us to get that feedback from you to know what we can add in the future, and also for you to get your Act 48 hours if you'd like to do that. So I really appreciate you coming and sharing in this experience. I hope it was fun for you. It was fun for me to get started. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to turn it over to open question and answer.